guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to do a very entertaining article titled, I Live the Effingest Dream, I Want My Money Back. And guys, this whole article is about a gal. She's in her 30s. I'm not sure where in her 30s, but her 30s. And she's none too happy about the status of her life, as well as a lot of women her age, friends, family, who are also in their 30s. And things haven't exactly been as cracked up as she thought they would be, given the effingest mindset that she was sold. You see, our gal here was sold the whole idea, like so many women out there, that they can have it all. That they can be in their 30s and be highly accomplished, make a lot of money, high status in society, high education, better than guys. And then when they get to their 30s, men will be lining up for them because, according to the effingest mindset and what they were sold, men are just lining up for gals because it's just so darn attractive to us that have high education, high positions in their companies, make a lot of money, high and mighty. Hasn't worked out that way because that's not what attracts guys. And in fact, a lot of them are finding out they can't get a guy, or at least the type of guys they want to get. The type of guys they want to get, no, they're interested in gals 10, 15 years younger than them because they don't want to wait around and chase the, you get the point. Now, some of you may be thinking, some of you maybe are new to the channel. Maybe you're used to hearing more personal stories and articles like SSM. Why are you covering this? Why waste your time? Well, one, because it's funny. But number two, because there isn't a guy out there watching this that hasn't encountered some gal like this that has had an attitude and has really ruffled their feathers, rubbed them the wrong way. Also, number two, the effingest movement is no friend or ally to us guys. And in particular, the third, fourth wave, 19th wave of the effingest movement outright despise us. And I like to see my enemies be wrong and look bad and all that. And also, last but not least, some of the biggest problems we have in our society and Western culture comes from decades of this effingest mumbo jumbo. I can go into this for a whole 45-minute video. I've done it in the past. I'm not going to do it today, but the majority, you know what I'm talking about here. And so that's why I'm covering this. And what I like about this is that this gal here, although she will, twist the knife a little bit towards guys, overwhelmingly she's trashing the effingest movement, that she was sold a bunch of lies. But then again, people nowadays can't think for themselves, so they just say they've been sold a bunch of lies or told a bunch of lies. And it's pretty darn funny. So you guys will definitely appreciate this one. But before I get into it, guys, definitely come check me out, my men's community over on Patreon and Locals. Growing every day. We're all having a good time over there. You can check it out and become a free member, see what it's all about. Or you can become a paying supporter and get access to all the good stuff. And I'll post a link at the top of the description as well as the top of the comment section. All right. So starts off, she says here, I never thought I would be here. I hate the idea of injecting a foreign toxin into my body. I don't even wear makeup. But here I am seriously considering getting 4 different cosmetic procedures, none of which I really want. But unfortunately, I feel like now I have to, and I'm resentful about it. In other words, she has to, in her view, do much changes to her appearance because she's realizing just looking like the elephant lady and getting a bunch of guys doesn't work. I was never a model, sure, but that's never bothered me. I'm pretty enough, but had so many other things going for me. My above-average intellect, which can keep a deep conversation like no 16-step skincare routine Instagram scarecrow could ever. My humor, that seems to make more people remember me, often when I don't remember them. My ability to listen well, cook a perfect steak, and roll a perfect spliff. I felt confident that this even out, so I'd have a good shot at any in the dating market. Where did you get that idea from? In other words, everything except physical attributes would be good enough in the dating market. That's what the effingest movement taught them. No, you need to physically take care of yourselves. I'm not saying you gotta look like a freaking model, but you gotta be thin. You gotta look feminine, behave feminine, have long hair, a little bit of makeup. You don't want to look like a kabuki chick, or Ronald McDonald or Harley Quinn or whatever. Some nails, take care of yourself, dress fairly well, fit. That does it. But no, they can look whatever, not have to shave, dress like a slob, butch their hair, but as long as they're funny and have high intellect, well, they'll get any guy. That was the mindset that obviously she had. But holy hell, was I wrong. There's a new price of admission, and it ain't cheap. or without risk, facial paralysis, apparently as the warning agreement stated. I don't want any of this stuff. I actually like how I am naturally, but I'm torn because I also recognize the reality of the current dating market. To pretend like the game doesn't exist only does me a disservice. So in order to participate, I'm forced, like a pouting child, being shoved into a raincoat to wear a uniform, i.e., what physical attributes men find attractive, evolutionary, at a glance, fuller lips, perfect teeth, narrow jaw, protruding cheekbones, and zero signs of wrinkles. So, to no surprise, she is absolutely overreacting here. She doesn't need to go get... I don't know what she looks like, but I'm going to probably say the odds are she does not need all this cosmetic surgery or anything like that, which she's describing here. All she has to do is be thin, change your diet, get some exercise, dress fairly well feminine, grow your hair long. I know that kills a lot of them. Wear a little makeup, like I said, and act feminine. Don't act like shave. That's important. You don't look like Chewbacca. But here we are. I got to do all this, this, and this. You may not look like a slob. How did we get here? Though the very ideology was supposed to free us from beauty standards. Feminism, curveball right there. You may not take care of yourselves and guys will be lining up for you. The marketplace is made up of only of your options. It's a comparison, like grading on a curve. Just 20 years ago, your options, the market, were limited maybe to those in your geographic vicinity, plus the occasional setup from a relative or camp friend. Now the options have widened considerably due to dating apps, and we are competing across hundreds, maybe thousands of options. On top of that, Instagram has widened the option pool even further. Even though none of the men around me could ever get with any of these women, they exist constantly in the field of view and thus part of the sample size. In other words, she's saying is because of Instagram and all these things, guys are seeing women out there, and it's warped their minds as to what beauty standards are. Well, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of gals on Instagram that can use enhancements to make them look way better than they are, and the technology is really improving that, I must say. But still, at the end of the day, you can't go around looking like a slob. Guys aren't going to be lining up for that. Now, stuck on top of that, we are no longer competing within our age group, but rather widened to include girls 10 to 20 years younger than us. And this is where feminism really effed us. We were sold the lie to go after our careers, make money, make your mark in the world first, be the best you can be, and then go find a partner once you've done A through C. Well, what she's saying is accurate. As she said, they were sold that. But here's the thing. Guess what? Can't you think for yourselves? Well, the reality is most people don't think for themselves, including men. I'm not going to let guys get away with this shit. The vast majority of people out there, are sheep and will do whatever the herd is doing. They can't think for themselves because guess what? They've been conditioned and taught and told that thinking for yourself, asking questions is rude, disrespectful. Just go with the flow. I thank God I was born the way I am, guys. I was born, from the moment I was born, I was always contrarian. I would always pretty much do the opposite. To me, conventional wisdom was conventional stupidity. And interesting, a lot of times conventional wisdom or the general mindset of doing things is typically not the best. Notice a lot of the most successful people tend to march to the beat of their own drum, carve their own path, don't do the conventional wisdom. And right here, blaming what we were sold, blaming what we were told. You can't think for yourselves, but they like what they were being sold. They like what they were being told. And it hasn't worked out. And yes, men aren't going to, the guys they want are going to go for gals 10, 15, 20 years younger. Duh. That actually take care of themselves and are feminine and aren't ball busting. We used to have a backstop against some of this. Our biological clock started to go wonky around mid-30s. But nope, we did an end run around that too with egg freezing. And the worst part is, we women did this to ourselves. Not a single man told us to do any of this. I give her credit for saying that. Good for you, honey. You may not like me calling you honey. You're feminist. I don't know. Hairs are probably lining up now me calling you honey, but I called you honey. Yeah, you did it to yourselves. In fact, men have been saying this has all been bullcrap for a long time. She says, we are our own worst enemy and the architects of our own demise. Again, I respect that she's saying that. So while we were busy climbing the corporate ladder, raising unheard amounts of money and making ourselves amazing, the men in our cohort weren't waiting around with their you-know-whats in their hands. No, sir, they were dating, and as we aged up, still too busy self-actualizing for them, they continued to date. Well, 20-something-year-olds, women in their fertile prime, that's what men are biologically programmed to find attractive. So you freeze your eggs, maybe buying you some time. 10 years go by. Surely the men left in their 40s are still single because they are looking for something real, something mature, or a woman of substance. Wrong. They are still dating 20-something-year-olds, just now with hair transplants and eye-rolling age gap. Look, at the end of the day, if you're a guy in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you are what's considered to be a catch, you do well for yourself, and you can get women in their 40s, 30s, 20s, duh, who do you think guys are going to go for? Okay? And these are a lot of the guys that have probably either been married once and are divorced or stayed single because they know it's in their interest to stay a bachelor. And women, just the nasty looks you can get when an older guy is with a darn good-looking younger woman. It's fucking funny. Trust me, I know. Oh, it's fun. Salt in the wound. And that's not really their fault. It's mostly biology. Men have about the same fertility as they age and well into their 60s. Up until that point, they will be pursued by women in their fertile prime, as their biological directive is telling them to procreate and with a mate with the highest likelihood of success to carry on the gene pool. Exactly. Look, nature has wired us for a reason to be a certain way, and they've also wired women to be certain ways at the end of the day. But notice how men are the bad guys oftentimes when, even though nature wired us a certain way to them, but they're not the bad guys because of nature. Feminism sold us the lie that being a well-rounded, smart, articulate, and successful woman would value up our stock. The investment in ourselves was well worth it. In reality, it does absolutely nothing to our market value and actually, in some cases, lowers it, as many men prefer to be more successful and smarter than their partners. I'll admit there's some guys that are like that in terms of they'd rather be smarter than their girl. I can't take dumb women. Not at all. She got to have a fucking brain. I can't do it. It's just such a turnoff to me. But that's me personally. In terms of success, it has been proven through my life experience and the countless stories and articles I've done over the years, it is far better that the man always makes more money. That drives him crazy, but it's the freaking truth. Because you know how many times I've seen marriages and relationships crumble when the gal starts making more money? It's unreal. Because all of a sudden she wants another guy, because all of a sudden her guy is no longer a catch. She wants a guy that makes more money. Because at the end of the day, they want that catch, the guy that makes more money. But anyhow, what she just said, notice that about the value of their stock, about success and being smart and articulate. That's not what drives guys. That's not what gets our what's hard. Okay? What gets us attracted to them are the physical. Guys are driven, number one, by looks. Believe me, you don't want just a girl with looks and has nothing inside. We want a girl that's kind and loving and feminine and all that with the looks. But while some guys may find intelligence attractive, at the end of the day, if she's highly intelligent, articulate, and all these things, if she doesn't have the physical attributes to match that, it ain't going to work. But that's what they were sold because it was easy. At the end of the day, it was easy to just not take care of themselves physically and wait a long time and all that and expect to get the type of guys they thought they could get. Women date laterally and up, and men date laterally sometimes, but mostly down. Men couldn't give a flying fuck if you're successful or smart or any amount of self-knowledge you might have gleaned on your therapy journey. No, we don't. Not at all. Sure, those things are nice to have, but often don't come into their assessments until after you've actually been dating for a while, and make a marginal difference at best. Men, even when they say they want someone they can talk to on their level, are kind of kidding themselves. They look mostly for biological markers of fertility and high estrogen, hip-to-waist ratios, full lips, heart-shaped face, and as far as talking goes, they want someone to listen. Well, when do women actually listen? They're too busy fucking talking. It's women who want someone to talk on their level, another gross misassessment of feminism. Look, at the end of the day, yeah, like I mentioned, there are certain attributes that are not physical that guys like and are important. But if she doesn't have the basic level of what a guy, and all guys are different in terms of what they might find physically attractive, let's be honest here, but there's a certain level that all we'll all be at. And if a gal doesn't meet a certain level of physical attributes, it doesn't make a difference how amazing the other things are. It's just a fact, you know? It's the same thing as a lot of women. If a guy can make a ton of money and have all these impressive qualities and success and all that, that they all universally find attractive. But if he doesn't have a certain level of looks, you know, it's not going to go too far. Don't get me wrong. I've seen women with guys that make a lot of money, highly successful, and they are butt ugly and obese and all that. But, you know, every time they're getting it on with their guy who looks like that, you know, they're thinking of Prada handbags and shit like that to keep them going. She says, so just get to the point where other non-physical attributes come into consideration. You have to pass the first gate, which I call the virtual fertility assessment. Imagine trying to compete in a track and field meet, but there's a 6-foot height requirement just to even sign up. Sure, once you're in, you could collect points from various different events and still beat someone who won in the other categories, but if you can't meet the initial height requirement, you aren't even in the field. We were told, listen to this, explore your sexuality, they said. Women can also have satisfying SCX lives. A noble quest for sure. I do think women have been shortchanged in the bedroom, mostly because they don't take the time to learn what they like or feel confident enough to ask for it. But feminism called to F like men was maybe the wrong message. Well-intentioned, but ignorant of biology. Well, I've said this many times, how the feminist movement has told them you can be just like men, go out there and F everything like men. How's that worked out? Guys don't want to be in a relationship with, let alone married to, the town bicycle. No. And how many times have I covered, particularly on my other channels, Reddit posts where these girls have meltdowns because the guy finds out about her past or her number, that type of thing, even though we know what he found out was probably, you know, a fraction of that, and breaks up with her. Or says, nope, not happening, I'm not dating you. And they lose their minds over it, and they'll try trashing him because they were told they could be like guys. No guy wants to be with that. Do away with the archaic notions of the religious past. Rooted in oppression, that chastity is a virtue. You do you, girl. A real man won't care. Wrong again. Whether men know it or not, they are predisposed to prefer women with fewer partners. That pesky evolution shit again getting in the way of utopia. Duh. It's not rocket science, but they ignored that. Back in caveman times, a man's biggest threat to the tribe's survival was spending limited resources, food, energy, and protection, on somebody else's child. So to ensure likelihood of paternity, you'd mate with a woman with the fewest partners. Thousands of years of this, unfortunately, hardwired into it, and no amount of hoo-ha hat marches is going to rewire those circuit boards. No amount of women's marches and trying to brainwash is going to change that. No, we don't want that. You can rewrite culture in an instant, but biology takes millennia. Oh yeah? Are we any fucking different human beings than we were when we first were in the caves? No. I don't regret my S-word past. They always say that. But I wouldn't change a thing. I don't regret a thing. Well, I was expressing a lot of regret in this article, honey. But I'm also aware of how it negatively impacts me in the dating market. It happens to me constantly. And every time I just make a little more sad, even hopeless, because I cannot change my past, it is what it is. So she tried to insinuate that, she definitely got around quite a bit, and now it ain't paying off. We seem to ignore biology like Netflix ignores, I can't say what she's going to say, charges for doing some bad things. Yes, there are some other factors at play. The advent of all-access PORN, taking a large number of men out of the dating pool, the creation of dating apps that widened the market of available women, and shrunk the number of men feeling any need for commitment. Come on here. Dating apps has made it a bazillion times easier, and social media for women to get attention from guys. If anything, dating apps has made it harder for guys, because unfortunately, guys are the ones that build up the false sense of reality on so many gals out there. There's so many options. There's so many thirsty guys chasing after girls on all elements of social media and dating apps. You have gals that are, we could argue, are 5s in the look department, think they're 9s and 10s because they got so much attention from guys. Okay? Dating apps doesn't help guys. It'll help the top 3% of guys, 3, 4, 5% of guys. That's about it, because then they can have plenty of options at them. But for most guys, no. She's trying to say dating apps helps us. Bullshit. The popularization of polyamory, which we've seen from the data, has really just shaken out to be old-fashioned polygamy. Duh. Multiple women sharing one man. All these factors, though, compound toward the same conclusion. There are exponentially fewer available men. But those are things we didn't really have control of. Listening to the well-intentioned but biologically illiterate third-wave feminist, however, was our choice. Yes, it was your choice, and I'm glad she's saying that. I'll give her this. Maybe she's full of shit and just saying that to look good in the article. I don't know, but it was their damn choice. And by the way, the reason there are so fewer men in the dating market nowadays is because so many men are done. They've been dealing with gals like this for so freaking long, and they see the level of entitlement out there and the attitude. And they're like, no, thank you. No. And I feel, and particularly young men, who so many gals they know that in definitely by college age run at best the social media flaunting their parts in a legal sense what they could, or going further on OnlyFans or having massive body counts. Like these young guys are like, forget it. I'm not getting involved with these girls with the attitude out there. Forget it. She says, we chugged the effing Kool-Aid and took photos of our sloppy red stained face with catchy hashtags like the future is female. No, the F it's not. Not if we missed out on reproducing. Anybody ever think of that? Perhaps when we started dating seriously for marriage in our early 20s, we might have had a fighting chance to adapt to the changing landscape, or at least pass that first gate without the help of a board-certified plastic surgeon. I really want to know what this broad looks like, that she feels like she absolutely has to get a plastic surgery to stand a chance of getting any guy. Now, me and all my girlfriends are in our 30s, each one more amazing and accomplished than the next, and are all playing this game of high-stakes musical chairs when we could have been lamping in the suburbs getting the 7-year itch by now. So, right here, what she just said there, me and all my girlfriends in our 30s, each one more amazing and accomplished than the next. I've known so many that, again, they think they're so... It's amazing what that... I would love to see a study done on the show Sex and the City, showing the amazing 4 gals living it up and basically doing what the FNS say that will work, and how many women at that time period watched that show, and the impact it had. Really, I really think it has had a major impact, that particular show. And in the show, I mean, actually, I don't know. I mean, I know of the show. I don't know how the fucking show went, but they were all in their 30s being amazing, and I'm assuming end up with perfect lives. Doesn't work that way. And let's be honest, gals like that have crapped on guys so long, guys aren't interested. So now here we are trying to trick the subconscious brain of men into registering us a viable breeding option, or at least a viable as our 20-year-old counterparts, just to participate in a fundamental part of life. I can't change my S-word history or go back any of the years I lost girl bossing away. So the only lever I have left is to increase my waist to hip ratio and create a Halloween mask out of my face. What the hell does she look like? And no, she can't change her S-word history. Man, obviously she got around. Now don't get me wrong, feminism got a lot right. The right to vote, equal pay, the ability to have a job and not be harassed at that job, body autonomy, and the ability to open a bank account or just exist without a husband. It gave us options, but maybe, just maybe, it got this one thing wrong. It got a lot of things wrong, but yes, this thing it got wrong. I did everything feminism told me to do. I worked my tail off, made a crap load of money, became one of the youngest female directors in my field. I broke the glass ceiling, but now I'm just lying here covered in broken glass. The end. That really sums it up. You know, I'm glad she's writing this. I'm glad she can admit it. But, you know, how many gals are going to read this? Well, number one, are gals younger going to read this and say, well, you know, maybe I ought to change my thinking here? Probably not. The people who are going to read this are guys like me, and other guys are going to hear this and laugh and be like, ha, we told you so. But, yeah, again, what she said here in the end, I worked my tail off, made a crap load of money, became one of the youngest female directors in my field, and stuff like that. Well, that's cool. I'm seriously, I can be impressed by success, but that ain't going to get a guy's, you know what, hard. That's not going to draw him into her. She better look remotely attractive. She better be feminine and not have a big body count and all that. Now, here's the reality. this woman here, unless there's seriously something wrong with her face, and I'm having a hard time believing this unless she got into an accident or something, because she obviously has been hinting about her S-word history here. Unless it was like she had a smoking body when she was younger and put a bag on her head. I don't know. It can't be that bad. I'm sure as long, again, as she keeps a healthy weight, healthy, what we can consider to be thin, grows her hair long, a little bit of makeup, nails, feminine, acts feminine, doesn't act like some of these G.I. Joe chicks, I'm sure she can get some guys, but probably the guys she wants aren't interested. And they're probably a lot older. But if she thinks that she's going to get guys that she wants around her age, when they have the option of getting gals 10, 15 years younger, depending, what do you think's going to happen here? But anyhow, guys, I thought this would be a good one to cover. I know a lot of you will like this. And like I said, when I see proven wrong the movement, the bowel movement, and those types that have made me and all guys out to be literally, particularly the 3rd, 4th, and 19th wave feminists made us out to be the enemy here, I like to see when they're proven wrong. I like to see these types whine and complain that they were sold a lie. Yes, they were. And you all did it to each other, like she said. So, and it is what it is and how reality's gone. And again, the movement, the bowel movement, has done a ton of problems in society, Western society. And again, I don't have to go into it because most of you know what I'm talking about here. So, yeah, exactly. But it's still going to be a while before really a lot wake up. This whole trad wife thing, I know a lot of you guys heard about it. At the end of the day, it's not so much, it's always about survival. You know, I think a lot of the whole trad wife thing now is because the job market is so difficult for young people, and I feel bad for them to an extent, that it's easy for guys to say, nah, I'm not going to go to work. AI is going to make it that I can't get a job anyway. I'm going to be a trad wife, and I'm going to act that way. But in reality, if there wasn't such challenges in the job market and stuff like that, or it wasn't what it's cracked up to be, I don't think it'd be, the trad wife thing would be as big, supposedly as big as it is. But anyhow, I'm going off track. So guys, there you go. I thought it'd be a pretty good one for a Monday. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you got a good article you want me to cover or a personal story you want me to share, send it my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.